I was 25 years old when I finally looked up from my life and realized I didn't recognize where I was, not geographically, but personally, financially, emotionally. I had been moving, yes, but not toward anything. I had been busy, certainly, but not productive. And the scariest part? I couldn't pinpoint the exact moment when I had handed over the steering wheel. That's the thing about losing control of your life. It doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It happens in 1,000 tiny surrenders you barely notice. Let me tell you something that might sting a little, but it's the truth. Right now, at this very moment, someone is in control of your life. Either it's you or it's your circumstances. Either it's you or it's other people's opinions. Either it's you or it's your habits, your fears, your excuses. But make no mistake, control is never absent. The question isn't whether your life is being controlled. The question is who's doing the controlling. Here's what I learned the hard way. Life is like a powerful river, and you're in a boat. Now, you can grab the oars and row with purpose toward a destination you've chosen, or you can set those oars down, relax, and let the current take you wherever it wants. And let me tell you, that current has a destination in mind. It's called anywhere but where you want to go. The river doesn't care about your dreams. The river doesn't care about your potential. The river just flows, and it will carry you right past every opportunity, every possibility, every chance you had to become something remarkable. I remember sitting in my small apartment, barely able to pay the rent, with pennies in my pocket and a family depending on me. I was working hard, mind you. I wasn't lazy, but working hard at what? Working hard at whose agenda? I had a job, sure, but someone else decided when I showed up, when I left, how much I made, and whether I'd still be employed next month. I had relationships, but I was so busy reacting to everyone else's needs that I never stopped to ask what I needed. I had dreams buried somewhere deep inside, but they were covered over with layers of I'll do it later, and I can't right now, and maybe someday when things calm down. Things never calm down, by the way. That's another lesson I learned. You're waiting for the perfect time? You're waiting for things to settle? Life doesn't settle. Life accelerates. And while you're waiting for calm waters to pursue your dreams, the current is carrying you further and further from them. The truth is, most people spend their entire lives in the back seat of their own car. They're passengers in their own existence. They look out the window as their youth drives by. They watch their opportunities exit the highway. They observe their potential disappear in the rearview mirror. And then one day they're 40 or 50 or 60 and they look around and say, how did I get here? This isn't what I wanted. This isn't who I meant to become. You want to know how you got there? One day at a time. One small compromise at a time. One little surrender at a time. You gave up control so gradually that you didn't even notice it was gone. Here's the mechanism, and pay attention because this is crucial. You wake up Monday morning and you don't feel like going to the gym like you promised yourself you would. You tell yourself it's just one day, I'll go tomorrow. That's surrender number one. By itself, it's nothing. But you've started a pattern. Then you sit down to work on that project, that business idea, that book you've been meaning to write. But you're tired and there's a new show everyone's talking about and you'll have more energy tomorrow anyway. Surrender number two. Your budget says you shouldn't buy that thing, but it's on sale, and you deserve it, and you'll make it up next month. Surrender number three. Each one of these moments feels insignificant. Each one seems harmless. But here's what's really happening. You're teaching yourself that you don't have to keep promises to yourself. You're training yourself to live by feelings rather than decisions. You're establishing a pattern where circumstances dictate your actions instead of your commitments dictating your actions. And before you know it, you've become someone who starts things but doesn't finish them, someone who sets goals but doesn't reach them, someone who has potential but never realizes it. I meet people all the time who are so talented, so capable, so full of possibility, and they're miserable. You know why? Because they know deep down they're living below their potential. They know they were meant for more. They know they have something inside them that's never been fully expressed. But somewhere along the way, they stopped being the author of their own story and became a character in someone else's story. Let me tell you about a friend I had years ago. Smart guy, really smart. Graduated top of his class, had more natural ability than 10 average people combined. But he had this habit of waiting for things to happen to him. Waited for the perfect job opportunity to land in his lap. Waited for someone to recognize his talent and promote him. Waited for the market to be just right to start his business. Waited for his wife to motivate him. Waited for his kids to get older so he'd have more time. Waited for the economy to improve. Waited for his health to get better so he could start exercising. Last time I saw him, 20 years after college, you know what he was still doing? Waiting and complaining. Complaining about his job, complaining about his income, complaining about opportunities he never got, complaining about how unfair life had been to him. But here's the thing that broke my heart. Life hadn't been unfair to him. He had been unfair to himself. He had sentenced himself to a life of mediocrity by refusing to grab the wheel. The opposite of taking control isn't chaos. It's drift. It's a slow, imperceptible slide into a life you never consciously chose. See, dramatic disasters wake people up. If your life falls apart in one big catastrophic moment, you at least know you need to do something different. But drift is insidious. Drift looks like life is just happening the way life happens. Drift feels normal. Drift is comfortable right up until the moment you wake up and realize you've drifted so far from who you wanted to be that you don't recognize yourself anymore. Here's what I want you to understand. Every single day, you're either taking control or giving up control. There is no neutral. There is no maintenance mode. You're either rowing that boat with purpose or the current is carrying you. You're either living your agenda or you're living someone else's agenda for you. You're either moving towards something or you're moving away from something. And here's the beautiful, terrifying, empowering truth. It's your choice. It's always been your choice. Even when you feel like you have no choices, you're choosing. When you say, I have to do this, what you really mean is, I'm choosing to do this because I'm not willing to face the consequences of not doing it. That's still a choice. When you say, I can't, what you often mean is, I'm choosing not to because the price feels too high right now. That's still a choice. The question isn't whether you have control. The question is whether you're going to exercise the control you have. Because let me tell you something, nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to hand you the life you want. Nobody is going to reach down and pull you out of mediocrity and place you into excellence. That's your job. That's your responsibility. That's your opportunity. And if you don't take it, life will take control of you. Your circumstances will make your decisions. Your habits will determine your future. Your environment will shape your character. Other people's expectations will define your identity in 5 years. From now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you'll still be wondering when your life is going to start, not realizing that it's been happening all along. You just weren't in charge of it. So here's where we are. You're at a fork in the road. One path leads to a life of intentional design, where you make conscious choices about who you become and what you create. The other path leads to a life of default settings, where you just accept whatever comes your way and hope for the best. One requires effort, discipline, and courage. The other requires nothing at all, which is precisely why it's so dangerous. The good news? You're still here. You're still breathing. You still have time. The game isn't over. But the game also doesn't pause while you figure things out. Every day you delay taking control is another day the current carries you further from your destination. Every day you let circumstances run your life is another day of potential wasted, another day of opportunity missed, another day you'll never get back. Starting right now, today, this moment, you can become the architect of your own life instead of the victim of your circumstances. But it starts with one fundamental decision. I will take control. Not tomorrow. Not when things calm down. Not when I feel more ready. So let's talk about what taking control actually means. because I don't want you walking away with some vague notion of being more in charge without understanding the practical territories you need to govern. There are 4 areas of your life that determine everything else. Get these right, and everything else falls into place. Lose control of these, and it doesn't matter how hard you work or how good your intentions are. These 4 territories are your time, your mind, your associations, and your money. Let's start with time, because this is where most people lose the battle before they even know there's a war happening. Here's the brutal truth. How you spend your days is how you spend your life. Not how you plan to spend your days. Not how you wish you spent your days. How you actually spend them. Right now, today, this week. That's your life. Those hours you're giving away to things that don't matter, that's not just time. That's your life disappearing. I learned this the hard way. I used to think I was busy. I'd tell people I'm so busy I don't have time for that. But when I finally sat down and tracked my time for 1 week, writing down exactly what I did every hour, I was horrified. Hours watching television I didn't even enjoy. Hours in conversations that went nowhere with people who weren't going anywhere. Hours worrying about things I couldn't control. Hours doing busy work that made me feel productive but moved me exactly 0 steps toward any goal that mattered. I wasn't busy, I was distracted. There's a massive difference. Time management isn't about managing time. Time passes the same for everyone. 24 hours, no negotiation. The beggar gets 24 hours and the billionaire gets 24 hours. The difference is that some people manage themselves during those hours and some people don't. The question isn't, do I have time? The question is this important enough to make time for? Because let me tell you something that will change your perspective. You have time for everything you truly value. Show me your calendar and I'll show you your priorities. Show me your schedule and I'll show you your future. The second territory is your mind. This is the battlefield where your life is won or lost. What you allow into your mind determines what comes out of your life. It's that simple and that profound. Your mind is like a garden. You can plant it or you can let it go wild. But make no mistake, something is going to grow there. The question is whether you're going to be intentional about what grows or whether you're going to let weeds take over. Most people treat their minds like a public park where anyone can dump anything. They watch the news for 3 hours and wonder why they're depressed. They scroll through social media for 2 hours and wonder why they feel inadequate. They hang around negative people and wonder why they can't stay positive. They read nothing, learn nothing new, challenge themselves with nothing of substance, and then wonder why their life doesn't change. Your mind is processing information and forming beliefs every single. The only question is whether you're choosing that information or whether you're just accepting whatever comes your way. I started my transformation when I started being selective about what I allowed into my mind. I stopped watching the news every night. I started reading books 30 minutes a day, minimum. I started listening to people who had what I wanted instead of people who had what I didn't want. I guarded my mind like a soldier guards a fort because I realized that every thought I think, every idea I entertain, every belief I accept is either building the life I want or destroying it. There's no neutral ground. The third territory is your associations. This one is hard for people because it feels mean, it feels exclusive, it feels judgmental. But here's the reality. You will become the combined average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Their attitudes will become your attitudes. Their habits will become your habits. Their expectations will become your expectations. Their income level will pull you toward their income level. Their health habits will influence your health habits. Their work ethic will rub off on you, for better or worse. I had to make some painful decisions in this area. I had friends I'd known for years who I had to spend less time with because every time we got together, all they did was complain. Complain about the government, complain about the economy, complain about their jobs, complain about their wives, complain about life. And I realized that if I kept marinating in that environment, I would become a complainer too. It was already happening. I'd leave those conversations feeling drained, feeling negative, feeling like nothing was possible. So I made a choice. I started spending time with people who were going somewhere, people who read books, people who set goals, people who talked about ideas instead of just people, people who encouraged instead of discouraged, people who challenged me to be better instead of comfortable with me staying the same. And let me tell you, it was lonely at first. My circle got smaller, but my life got bigger. The fourth territory is your money. How you handle money reveals everything about your philosophy of life. Show me someone who can't manage $1,000, and I'll show you someone who can't manage $100,000 or $1 million. The amount isn't the issue. The discipline is the issue. The philosophy is the issue. Most people have a backwards relationship with money. They think money will solve their problems. They think if they just made more, everything would be fine. But I've seen people triple their income and still be broke because they also tripled their spending. I've seen lottery winners end up bankrupt because they never developed the discipline and the philosophy required to manage resources well. Money is a tool, and like any tool, it multiplies whatever you are. If you're undisciplined with a little, you'll be undisciplined with a lot. If you're generous with a little, you'll be generous with a lot. If you invest wisely with a little, you'll invest wisely with a lot. The key isn't making more money. The key is becoming the kind of person who knows how to manage resources, who understands delayed gratification, who can tell the difference between an investment and an expense. Here's what I learned. Financial discipline creates options. When you control your money instead of your money controlling you, you suddenly have choices. You can say no to a job you hate. You can say yes to an opportunity that requires investment. You can weather a storm. You can take a calculated risk. But when you're living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debt, spending everything you make and then some, you're trapped, you're a slave, you have no control because you have no options. These four territories work together. When you control your time, you have space to work on your mind. When you control your mind, you make better decisions about your associations. When you control your associations, you learn better principles about money. When you control your money, you buy back your time. It's a cycle that either lifts you up or drags you down. The choice is yours. Now, understanding these principles is one thing. Actually living them is something else entirely. I can't tell you how many people I've met who know exactly what they should do but aren't doing it. They know they should exercise, but they don't. They know they should save money, but they don't. They know they should read more, but they don't. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. It might make you feel good for a moment, but it doesn't change anything. The gap between knowing and doing is where most people live their entire lives. They attend seminars, read books, listen to podcasts, nod their heads in agreement, and then go right back to the same patterns that have been holding them back. Why? Because they never translated philosophy into practice. They never built the daily disciplines that turn ideas into reality. Let me tell you what changed everything for me. I started designing my days instead of just living them. Most people wake up and react. The alarm goes off, they hit snooze 3 times, they rush around, they check their phone, they respond to whatever seems urgent, they go to work, they come home exhausted, they collapse in front of the television, they go to bed, and they do it all over again tomorrow. That's not living, that's existing. That's being a pinball, getting knocked around by whatever bumper you hit next. I decided that the first hour of my day belonged to me, not to the world. Before I checked any messages, before I looked at any news, before I dealt with anyone else's agenda, I invested in myself. I got up earlier. Not because I'm some superhuman who loves waking up early, but because I decided that my future was worth more than an extra hour of sleep. I used that hour to read, to think, to plan, to prepare myself mentally for the day ahead. That one decision changed everything. That 1 hour gave me control. While everyone else was still asleep or rushing around in chaos, I was already winning. I was already investing in myself. I was already ahead. And here's what happens when you start your day with intention. The rest of the day follows that pattern. You set the tone, you establish the rhythm, you take control before control is taken from you. But it can't just be 1 hour and then chaos for the rest of the day. You need a plan. Every night before I go to bed, I write down what tomorrow must look like for it to be a successful day. Not a perfect day, not an ideal day where everything goes right, but what absolutely must happen for me to consider tomorrow a win. Usually, it's 3 to 5 things, not 20 things. Not a list so long it's overwhelming, just the vital few things that matter most. Then when tomorrow comes, I protect those things like my life depends on it, because in a very real sense, it does. My future depends on whether I do what I said I would do. My character depends on whether I keep promises to myself. My self-respect depends on whether I can look in the mirror at the end of the day and say, I did what I committed to do. Here's something critical that most people miss. You can't say yes to everything and expect to maintain control. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something important. Every time you agree to do something that doesn't align with your goals, you're stealing time from something that does. Learning to say no is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Not a rude no, not a dismissive no, but a firm, clear, unapologetic no. When someone asks me to do something that doesn't fit my priorities, I've learned to say, I appreciate you thinking of me. But that doesn't fit what I'm focused on right now. No elaborate excuses, no made-up reasons, just a simple truth. And most people respect that more than if I said yes and then did a mediocre job or resented them the whole time. The real power comes when you build systems that make the right choices automatic. I don't wake up every morning and debate whether I'm going to exercise. I don't stand in front of the refrigerator and have a philosophical discussion with myself about whether I'm going to eat healthy today. I don't sit at my desk and wonder if I should work on important projects or waste time. I built systems. I made decisions once, and then I built structures that support those decisions every day. My workout clothes are laid out the night before. My healthy food is prepared in advance. My most important work is scheduled for when my energy is highest. I remove temptations from my environment. I set up my surroundings to support my goals instead of sabotage them. Because here's the truth, willpower is overrated. Willpower runs out. Willpower gets depleted. But systems keep running even when motivation is low. Let me tell you about a practice that has saved me countless times. Every Sunday evening, I do a weekly review. I look at what I accomplished that week, what I didn't accomplish, and why. I'm brutally honest with myself. Did I waste time? Where? Did I get distracted? By what? Did I keep my commitments to myself? If not, what got in the way? This isn't about beating myself up. This is about learning. This is about adjusting. This is about getting better. Then I plan the next week. Not just a vague idea of what I hope might happen, but specific blocks of time assigned to specific activities. Time for work that matters. Time for family, time for learning, time for health, time for rest. When you schedule something, it's much more likely to happen. When you leave it to chance, it's much more likely to get squeezed out by whatever feels urgent in the moment. Every month, I do a deeper review. Am I making progress toward my bigger goals? Am I becoming the person I want to become? Are my daily activities aligned with my long-term vision? If not, something needs to change. Maybe my daily activities need to change. Maybe my goals need to change. But something has to change, because doing the same thing and expecting different results is insanity. Every quarter, I step back even further. I look at the big picture. I ask myself hard questions. Am I in the right business? Am I pursuing the right objectives? Am I surrounded by the right people? These aren't questions you can answer in the chaos of daily life. You need distance. You need perspective. You need time to think deeply about direction, not just execution. Here's what happens when you build these practices into your life. You stop being surprised by where you end up. Most people are shocked by their circumstances because they never connected their daily choices to their long-term results. But when you're reviewing regularly, adjusting constantly, and staying intentional consistently, there are no surprises. You know exactly where you're heading because you're steering. Let me be clear about something. This isn't about being rigid. This isn't about never being spontaneous or flexible. Life throws curveballs. Unexpected things happen. Opportunities arise. Emergencies occur. The point isn't to be so locked into your plan that you can't adapt. The point is to be so clear about your priorities that when something unexpected happens, you can make a quick decision about whether it serves your larger purpose or distracts from it. When you have a plan, you can afford to be flexible because you know what you're being flexible from. When you don't have a plan, you're not being flexible. You're just being tossed around. There's a huge difference between choosing to deviate from your plan for something valuable and having no plan at all. The compound effect of these daily practices is staggering. One good day doesn't change your life, but one good day followed by another good day followed by another good day for 6 months, that changes everything. That's how you go from where you are to where you want to be. Not in one giant leap, not in one moment of inspiration, but in small, consistent actions repeated over time. The question isn't whether you have what it takes. The question is whether you're willing to do what it takes. Are you willing to get up earlier? Are you willing to plan your days? Are you willing to say no? Are you willing to build systems? Are you willing to review and adjust? Are you willing to stay consistent even when you don't feel like it? Because that's what taking control looks like in real life. It's not glamorous. It's not always exciting, but it works. And it's available to anyone willing to pay the price. Let me tell you what life looks like when you're finally in the driver's seat. It's not perfect. Don't misunderstand me. Taking control doesn't mean everything goes your way. It doesn't mean you never face challenges or setbacks, but there's a fundamental difference in how you experience life when you're running it instead of it running you. First, there's peace. Real peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from everything being easy, but the peace that comes from knowing you're doing what you said you would do. When your head hits the pillow at night, you're not tortured by regret. You're not lying there thinking about all the things you should have done. You're not wondering where the day went or why you feel like you accomplished nothing. You know you showed up. You know you did your best. You know you kept your commitments. That kind of peace is worth more than any amount of money. Second, there's confidence. And I'm not talking about arrogance or false bravado. I'm talking about quiet confidence that comes from evidence. When you've been keeping promises to yourself for weeks, months, years, you start to trust yourself. You start to believe that when you set a goal, you'll actually reach it. When you commit to something, you'll actually follow through. That confidence changes how you carry yourself. It changes how other people perceive you. It changes what you're willing to attempt. I've watched this transformation happen in my own life and in countless others. When you start taking control, opportunities multiply. Why? Because people respect those who respect themselves. People want to do business with people who are reliable, disciplined, and intentional. They don't want to invest in someone who's all over the place, who can't finish what they start, who makes excuses instead of results. When you command your own life, others notice. Doors open. Possibilities emerge. Things that seemed impossible suddenly become achievable. Your relationships improve. When you're not a victim of your circumstances, you stop blaming others for your problems. When you're taking responsibility for your life, you stop expecting other people to fix you or complete you or make you happy. You show up whole. You show up as someone who has something to give, not just someone who needs something to take. That changes the entire dynamic of every relationship in your life. Your family sees the difference. When you're in control of your time, you're actually present when you're with them. When you're in control of your finances, you're not stressed and short-tempered about money. When you're in control of your mind, you're not bringing home all the negativity and chaos from the outside world. You become someone they can depend on, someone they can look up to, someone who shows them what's possible. Here's what really matters. 5 years from now, you're going to arrive. The question is, where? 5 years is going to pass whether you take control or not. Whether you're intentional or not, whether you're disciplined or not, But where you arrive in those 5 years will be completely different depending on the choices you make starting today. If you take control, 5 years from now, you'll be financially stable or even wealthy. You'll be healthy and energetic. You'll have deep, meaningful relationships. You'll be proud of who you've become. You'll have a body of work behind you. You'll have skills and knowledge you don't have today. You'll be living the life you designed instead of the life that was handed to you. If you don't take control, 5 years from now, you'll be 5 years older with the same problems, the same excuses, the same regrets, and a whole new list of if-onlys. You'll look back and realize you spent 5 years reacting instead of creating, 5 years drifting instead of driving, 5 years wishing instead of doing. The ultimate test of whether you're in control is this: can you look yourself in the mirror? Not glance at yourself. Really look. Look into your own eyes and ask yourself, am I becoming who I'm capable of becoming? Am I doing what I know I should be doing? Am I honoring the potential I was given? If you can answer yes to those questions, you're in control. If you can't, you know what needs to change. This is your one life. This is it. No dress rehearsal. No practice run. No second chance to go back and do it over. Every day that passes is gone forever. Every opportunity you miss is missed forever. Every year you spend drifting is a year you'll never get back. But here's the beautiful truth that makes all of this possible. You can start right now. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not January 1st. Right now. This moment. You can decide that from this point forward, you're taking control. You're not waiting for permission. You're not waiting for perfect conditions. You're not waiting until you feel ready. You're deciding. And that decision changes everything. Life will take control of you if you let it. But you don't have to let it. You have everything you need to grab the wheel and steer toward the life you want. The only question that remains is, will you?